Service members. Their chopper crashing right into the water 25 miles south of Houston, Texas. We've got the breaking details in just moments.
And a war of words doesn't do it justice. Secretary of State John Kerry delivering a blistering attack against Israel, and Israel firing back.
If the choice is one state, Israel can either be Jewish or democratic. It cannot be both.
Secretary Kerry paid lip service to the unremitting campaign of terrorism that has been waged by the Palestinians.
That is just the beginning, much more to talk about.
And Charlie Sheen just unleashed himself on the president-elect, now wishing, not making this up, death upon Donald Trump. Imagine if someone did that to Hillary Clinton or President Obama. Think the media would be outraged? Mornings are better with friends.
Good morning. Happy Thursday, everybody.
Happy Thursday.
We are here.
Wow.
We've made it almost the end of the week.
We're going to the end of the week strong. It's just we still got a couple more big days before.
Every time we sit in the country, we go, what are we going to do for 3 hours?
What are we going to do? You know, we survived the, hour and 15-minute speech yesterday of John Kerry. So
Survived it?
I think we're going to make it through today.
It went on a little.
It did go on for just a bit.
It was just a long speech.
We got a lot to talk about.
We're going to talk about that.
And we've got Heather now with some headlines this morning.
Hi.
See you, Heather.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Hope you're off to a great day. Thursday it is, and let's start right now with a Fox News alert. Death by a broken heart. Hollywood legend Debbie Reynolds passing away just a day after her daughter Carrie Fisher. According to TMZ, Reynolds told her son, "I miss her so much, I just want to be with Carrie," just hours before she was rushed to the hospital for a suspected stroke. Reynolds was an acclaimed actress, dancer, and singer whose career spanned nearly 7 decades.
Morning, good morning. It's great to stay up late.
Or her daughter, Carrie Fisher. What a heartbreak. An explosive crash killing 2 servicemen after their Apache helicopter plunges into the water. Witnesses say the National Guard chopper was flying unusually low and broke apart in the air before crashing into Galveston Bay in Texas.
Heard a loud bang, seen pieces of the props flying in the air, seen the rest of the craft turn like it was turning upside down and started nosedive going down towards the ground.
Goodness. Military officials say the unidentified soldiers were conducting a routine flight when their aircraft crashed. Divers jumping into the water to recover the bodies. It's not clear what caused that crash, but we are praying for those families this morning in Texas. A parting shot for Russian President Vladimir Putin. President Obama set to announce sanctions against Russia as soon as today over its alleged interference in the 2016 election.
Like, this is one of those
Critics
Friday
slamming
night,
the
like, let's play
president for
poker,
his
but everyone gets
so-called weakness when it comes to Moscow, insisting an iron fist is the only way to stop Russian meddling.
Vladimir Putin is a thug and a bully and a murderer. He understands strength, and that's all that he understands. And we're still the strongest nation on earth. We just have to do it right.
Well, Russia is still denying all those accusations, promising sanctions of its own against Washington. We'll follow that story throughout the day. And for the first time in 40 years, a Catholic bishop will participate in the presidential inauguration. The Archbishop of New York, Timothy Cardinal Dolan, one of 6 faith leaders taking part in next month's swearing in of President-elect Donald Trump. Brian Kilmeade taking a holy stroll with the Cardinal just last week.
I invited him. I said, you know, if you want, on the Sunday before your inauguration, why don't you come on down the block? Let's pray with you and for you.
Well, the Cardinal will be reading from Scripture and giving the invocation at the January 20th ceremony in Washington, D.C. And those are your headlines. He is such a great person to ask to do that.
Brian Kilmeade really is. Oh, yes, actually, Cardinal Dolan.
I'm talking about Cardinal Dolan.
We love both of them.
We do.
Thank you, Heather.
Wisconsin.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Good
See you
to
guys
know.
soon.
All right, so 2 big speeches yesterday. We are calling them the dueling speeches, you could say, war of words between Secretary of State John Kerry yesterday and Bibi Netanyahu. Let's take a look back.
Friends need to tell each other the hard truths, and friendships require mutual respect. They fail to recognize that this friend, the United States of America, that has done more to support Israel than any other country. The Israeli Prime Minister publicly supports a 2-state solution. But his current coalition is the most right-wing in Israeli history, with an agenda driven by the most extreme elements. The status quo is leading towards one state and perpetual occupation. Here is a fundamental reality. If the choice is one state, Israel can either be Jewish or democratic. It cannot be both.
I must express my deep disappointment with the speech today of John Kerry. Secretary Kerry paid lip service to the unremitting campaign of terrorism that has been waged by the Palestinians against the Jewish state for nearly a century. Israelis do not need to be lectured about the importance of peace by foreign leaders. Israel's hand has been extended in peace to its neighbors from day one, from its very first day.
Yeah, and you know, John Kerry there talking about friends tell each other hard truths. That was a playoff of previous war of words where Benjamin Netanyahu said friends do not take friends to the Security Council at the UN, which is what he felt with the U.S. abstaining last Friday is what started this whole deal.
Of course.
Not shielding Israel. But yesterday, just pouring on, when you have Democratic Senator Chuck Schumer saying, quote, while he may not have intended it, I fear Secretary Kerry in his speech and action at the UN has emboldened extremists on both sides. That's Chuck Schumer. That is the incoming Democratic leader in the United States Senate.
It is bipartisan outrage that it was a one-sided speech. It was real reality TV yesterday. I mean, John Kerry gives a 90-minute speech rambling. One of those things where he felt like if he said it 6 times, somehow it became more prominent. And then
or 16 times.
Or 16 times. Bibi Netanyahu came out right after it. It's almost as if he knew exactly what John Kerry was going to say, which is effectively a condemnation of Israel. I mean, I think we've got the stats of what was mentioned during John Kerry's speech. There was 1 mention of Iran, 1 of Hezbollah, 4 of Hamas, 7 of terrorism. 14 times he talked about occupation, and 42 times he talked about Israeli settlements. We're going to have a settler on here in the next segment to talk about what are these evil, bad, horrible settlers live from Jerusalem. But he used the words of the left, of anti-Semitism, frankly, of the occupation. It's offensive. And Bibi Netanyahu, I think, had a great question. How do you make peace with someone who rejects your very existence?
Well, I think
How
that's
do you do
the
that?
most important point of this conversation. How do you even come together? How do you even have conversations? And also something that Netanyahu said in the speech was that President Obama and his administration over the past 8 years kept telling him over and over and over again, we're going to work together. We're going to have these conversations. So for them, this sort of came out of nowhere, even though I think this was, as they said, they've got real proof this was pre-orchestrated. This was planned behind the scenes. Netanyahu said that yesterday in his speech. But what I found interesting was just a new chapter beginning. And we mentioned this yesterday, maybe a real backlash that could happen after this
and look who has to pick up the pieces. It's Donald Trump, the president-elect. Now, Bibi Netanyahu praised Donald Trump, and Donald Trump was on Twitter yesterday saying, among other things, we cannot continue to let Israel be treated with such total disdain and disrespect. They used to have a great friend in the U.S., but not anymore. The beginning of the end was the horrible Iran deal, and now this UN, exclamation point. Stay strong, Israel, January 20th is fast approaching. So, you know, look, Netanyahu then also added, President-elect Trump, thank you for your warm friendship and your clear-cut support for Israel. So, look, they're on the same page, but this is going to be a heavy lift to sort of pick up the pieces from what the Obama administration has done.
Absolutely, and a lot of people are reporting that behind the scenes, this is just finally the private position of the Obama administration coming into public. And they've always been sort of badgering Israel to say, hey, your settlements are the impediment to peace. But the moral equivalence there is what's really offensive. So settlements are equivalent to suicide bombers. I mean, if you're dealing with an ideology that still teaches in their schools that Jews should be killed, Hamas and Hezbollah.
The Washington Post today, I think, is editorializing that the Obama administration is on the right side of history here, despite what you just said.
Sure,
so you've got but I'm saying you've got the mainstream media saying this is the right way to go.
Yesterday was the last gasp of the two-state solution and the mainstream media believing that somehow this fantasy peace that they hope would exist will exist. You need a partner on the other side. Hasn't existed for a long time for Israel. So there's a new reality, and Donald Trump, I think, is about to usher that in.
Yeah, the Obama administration, they think this is all about their legacy. We will look back and think this was a strong 8 years for them. But you listened to what John Kerry said yesterday. He kept saying over and over again, we've got a great relationship with Israel. Things have been wonderful over the past 8 years.
Is anybody buying it anymore?
And then you listen to Netanyahu and you're thinking, Where's the disconnect? Because that is not how they're feeling. It's almost like, well, I've been a good friend. Well, no, you haven't.
The disconnect is rhetoric versus reality, right? I mean, if our Congress is talking about cutting off funding to the UN because of what was just done, that's a demonstration of how far we've fallen. Yes, we provide a lot of military funding to Israel, but that's a reflection of Congress more so than it is necessarily President Obama.
So a lot on the foreign policy plate for the president-elect as he gets ready to come to power. But meanwhile, he's not slowing down and making these big economic deals that could help us here at home. Announcing yesterday down in Florida, 8,000 more jobs from Sprint, all kinds of action down there, Abby.
Yeah, here's what he said about that yesterday.
I was just called by the head people at Sprint, and they're going to be bringing 5,000 jobs back to the United States. They're taking them from other countries. They're bringing them back to the United States. And also OneWeb, a new company, is going to be hiring 3,000 people. So that's very exciting.
Well, this comes at an interesting time because you look at consumer confidence. It's now at the highest point since before the recession, right? Since 2001.
Way before, since 2001. And then you've got the Dow edging closer and closer to 20,000. It hasn't quite gotten there yet. I'm certainly not saying that's because of the election of Donald Trump, but Donald Trump...
He will say that.
He will say it. He'll say it for me. He'll say it for everyone. But I think, look, presidents have to deal with the bad news when they come to office, and so now you're dealing with, Mideast peace process that's in tatters, as we've been talking about, and you're going to have to deal with that, like it or not. You've got to figure out how to go forward. But sometimes good news comes in. You're the recipient of it, and look, he's trying to build on it. He's not just sitting around saying, okay, we've already got, the economy's starting to really kind of hum here. This is good. He's trying to get more deals and get this going.
On election night, the futures market was down 700 points immediately, right? In reaction to the uncertainty of Donald Trump. But the last 1,000 points of the Dow, I mean, that is a Donald Trump bullish market saying, hey, we think what he's going to bring in is going to improve the economy. And when you hear more news like this, quick wins is what they call them, that's great. I mean, it does instill confidence. Consumer confidence really matters because if the consumer believes in the future, that's more important almost than the stock market.
And you know what he's doing, I think, that really is making a difference? He's having actual conversations, whether it's on the phone, whether it's in person, one-on-one. That's how you make deals. That's how you figure out how to move
what he's also
forward.
doing?
He did write a book about that.
Getting us tired of winning.
Kind of knows.
It's also getting us tired.
Are you tired?
You're just getting tired.
You came in, you looked a little tired, and I didn't know why, but now I do.
All this winning. Remember you said the campaign.
All this winning.
We're going to get tired of this winning. There's been a couple
You're making Ed Henry tired, Mr.
But you know what? He also said, sorry, Ed, we just got to keep winning.
We got it, no matter what.
You're going to say
some people just can't handle it. So we found out.
All right, more to come on the show. No Clinton support, no service. That restaurant owner who banned Trump voters is now speaking out for the very first time. So does he regret it? We are going to play that tape.
I hope he does. And what happens when a pint-sized basketball player goes one-on-one with an overconfident stranger in the middle of the street? Whoa! Those are some handles right there.
I love that.
They call it. Oh, she.
He can take you even.
He broke her down. He broke her down. Uh-oh. Yep.
That's awesome.
We could not, in good conscience, protect the most extreme elements of the settler movement as it tries to destroy the two-state solution. And we may not be able to stop them, but we cannot be expected to defend them. If the choice is one state, Israel can either be Jewish or democratic. It cannot be both.
Attacking an ally, Secretary Kerry delivering a blistering speech yesterday against Israel following that recent UN vote on Israel's settlements.
So, what are Israelis living in those settlements thinking this morning about that speech? Well, Daniel Luria is one of them. He joins us live now from Jerusalem. Daniel, thank you very much for joining us this morning. Appreciate your time.
Good morning.
You live in East Jerusalem. You live in a place that Secretary Kerry calls occupied, that the UN says is occupied territory. Tell us what it's like to live there. Tell us what Israelis are feeling this morning.
Well, first of all, I live in Ma'ale Adumim, actually. Work all the time in what the world refers to as East Jerusalem. From our point of view, it's the eternal capital of the Jewish people. And the truth is, there's not much the world can do about it. I was dismayed and even shocked at the historical ignorance yesterday in the speech. I mean, friends don't put friends in danger. To ask us to put a terror state on our back doorstep when we already have one in the Gaza Strip is just phenomenal, to even think that a friend could do that. Friends are meant to understand that we have a 4,000-year history with Jerusalem and with the land of Israel. 1600 years, when Muhammad was running around and praying in Arabia, we already had the first temple. So for people today to still talk in terms of occupation or illegal settlements is just astounding. The two-state solution, in addition to that, is clearly an oxymoron. You can't have two states where one of the states wants to destroy the second state. So clearly it's no solution. Sure. I live in Ma'ale Adumim, where there's 40,000 people. It's a regular city 5 minutes out of Jerusalem. I work in Jerusalem, regular, everyday people. We do not teach our children to make Molotov cocktails or throw stones. There's no hate or incitement being taught or educated anywhere in our schools, and that's what we're up against. So in addition to the fact that Israel is the Jewish homeland, so it's impossible actually for us to be illegal occupiers of our own homeland, we're surrounded by millions of people that want to still see us driven into the sea. So, so why should we create a state on our back doorstep?
Right, and Dan, your voice is so important this morning because where you are, that is where everyone is affected by this resolution. Help people better understand that are watching this here at home in the United States and afar. Help them understand the impact of this resolution.
Well, let's put it this way. I mean, the size of Israel is the size of New Jersey, 7,000 to 8,000 square miles. To even think of dividing up that area to create a terror state is totally absurd. It cannot be. To think that we have literally already today missiles, thousands of missiles coming into regular cities is incomprehensible. So why should we hand away our own homeland just to have more of the same people on our back doorstep? There are plenty of Arabs that may want to live in peace side by side, but there's too many that want to see the end and do not recognise even the smallest of Jewish entities. But what the world doesn't understand, maybe the Arab world doesn't understand, is we're not moving. So terror isn't going to drive us out.
Sure. Daniel, I was in Israel a couple of months ago, visited Judea and Samaria, and some of these settlements in not in East Jerusalem, but throughout Judea and Samaria, the so-called West Bank. What is the biggest misconception that Americans or others have about these settlers and settlements?
Well, I'm assuming, I know actually, I speak to many Americans overseas, and I think they're these little shacks on hilltops. We're talking about close to 800,000 Jews today living in Judea and Samaria and in what the world refers to as East Jerusalem neighbourhoods. The Jews were actually displaced from. So if anyone is an illegal occupier, it's actually the Arabs. The Jews were kicked out in the pogroms from the city of David, from the Mounts of Olives, from the Shimon HaTzadik neighbourhood, from the old Yemenite village, from the old Jewish quarter, the Muslim quarter of today. Jews were the ones who were evicted, we're the ones who were displaced, and yet the world is saying that we are the occupiers. There is something warped and distorted about that thinking. Regular people, beautiful cities who are not teaching hate or incitement.
Daniel, that's certainly what I saw as well, and we're very grateful.
Yeah, and Daniel, such an important voice to hear this morning. Thank you for being with us.
Thanks for being with us.
Pleasure, thank you.
All right, coming up, the Amazon Echo may be able to solve a murder, but the company refuses to give over that evidence. Should Amazon play ball with prosecutors or protect customers' privacy?
Interesting question. Plus, remember those Tea Party rallies? Well, they're making a comeback, but instead of rallying against big government, they're arguing for more and starring the one and only Bernie Sanders. Maybe Jill Stein, too. We'll find out.
Good morning again. Time for a quick look at your headlines. The Dems are looking right and forming their own Tea Party. Senator Bernie Sanders supporters using the party blueprint to help mold the future of the Democratic Party and fight the president-elect's proposed agenda. Progressives say they learned from the success of the right this election and past failures of Occupy Wall Street. And Hillary's out of the woods. The former Democratic nominee seen eating breakfast alone at a resort in upstate New York, looking a bit down maybe. Clinton has largely stayed out of the public eye following her crushing loss, except for those hiking snapshots in Chappaqua. Abby?
All right, thank you, Ed. So it is one of the hottest holiday gifts of the season.
Alexa, what's on the calendar today?
You have 12 events scheduled.
And listen to this. Now it could help police solve a murder case. Authorities in Arkansas issuing a warrant for information from a man's Amazon Echo's device who was accused of strangling and drowning a man in his hot tub. Detectives are now hoping to pull clues from the device that is always listening for its wake word, Alexa. Amazon now refusing to release that information. The question now, though, should it? Here to debate, attorney and former prosecutor Elliot Feelig and criminal defense attorney Jana Spilborg. Good morning, both of you.
Good morning.
Welcome to the future. My goodness, right? So I just got Alexa. Amazing how much she can hear, how many questions she can answer. I'm going to start with you, Ellie, because you both have different perspectives on this. You say Amazon should hand over this information. Why?
Look, absolutely. The more evidence, the better. We know a homicide occurred in this home. We know this device is capable of recording audio. So that means, to me, there's probable cause to believe that the device contains evidence relating to a crime. That means the constitutional standard for probable cause is met. So while I don't blame Amazon for saying we need to see a warrant, if I'm a prosecutor, I'm seeking that warrant. If I'm a judge, I'm signing that warrant.
So here's what Amazon is saying about this, John. It says Amazon will not release customer information without a valid and binding legal demand properly served on U.S. Amazon objects to overboard or otherwise inappropriate demands as a matter of course. You're on their side. You say they should not release this.
Yeah, and I applaud them for that because, look, Amazon has a right and a duty to its customers, essentially, to withhold any information from the government without, in this case, without basically a court order. What Amazon is essentially saying here is, look, your Arkansas search warrant is not enough to compel us to turn the information over. So what will happen at this point, then, is either, like, remember when Apple was refusing to create code to unlock the phone for the San Bernardino killers? Same thing. There was a standoff there. So now the choice for Arkansas is, all right, maybe I'll get a judge involved to compel you to turn over the information, or we'll find another way to get it. But I think one of the most important points here is Alexa's not going to solve this crime. She's not going to say it was Colonel Mustard in the kitchen with the candlestick. That's not going to happen. She doesn't record full-on conversations. So what information are they actually going to get, and how valuable will it be?
Well, that's the other big question here, because we don't know. Maybe there could be something on Alexa, because once you say her name, once you say, Alexa, what's the weather today, it starts recording, right? They can hear your voice. Maybe there is something, and potentially could be the only evidence they might have.
Sure. I mean, anytime you seek a search warrant, there's an element of speculation because you don't know what could be in the home or in the device or in the car you're looking to search. So you always speculate a little bit. But look, this could actually help the defense because theoretically, maybe it's just as evidence can point the finger at someone, evidence can also exonerate someone. And if it turns up nothing, as you suspect it might, the defense lawyer can get up a trial and say, hey, look, folks, they seized all my client's devices. They seized this Alexa. It turned up nothing. That's a reason to find my client not guilty. We want to follow the evidence. The more evidence we have, the more confident we can be in any verdict, guilty or not guilty.
But keep in mind also, if they took the Alexa device and dissected it and got whatever jewels they could get from that, that's great. The investigators are looking to a third party to help convict a potential suspect. That's like if I send you an email and the police come to your house because I sent you an email and want to search your computer. The right to seize evidence is not infinite. That's why we have the Fourth Amendment.
You know what? I have a feeling this will be the first of many, many debates.
Many.
With Alexa and so many other devices out there.
But we live in that world
Thanks
now.
for breaking this down. It will be interesting to see how all this plays out. All right, coming up, the deadline is months away, but now is the time to shrink your tax bill. Chris Hogan has the best financial advice money can buy, and he's answering your questions next. And then 3 teenagers stranded miles from land, their boat sinking, life jackets trapped underwater. How they managed to call for help just in time. That is next. And this story's crazy. Charlie Sheen just unleashed on the president-elect, now wishing death upon him. Imagine if someone did that to Hillary Clinton or President Obama. We're going to debate that. But first, happy birthday to our friend, Jon Voight. He is 78 years old today. Happy birthday. There was so much in that 1 minute soundbite. Oh, my gosh.
I can't even, the dude part, I mean, you know, look,
it's amusing, but
Charlie Sheen has been a mess for a long time, and now he goes on social media last night after the death, sadly, of Debbie Reynolds. Her daughter had just died, Carrie Fisher. Within 24 hours, she has a stroke and dies. There's been all this talk about celebrity deaths this year.
It's been a tough
Prince,
year.
David Bowie, and George Michael. And so what does Charlie Sheen do? He goes after Donald Trump and wishes that he dies
Yeah,
next.
Ed, look what he tweeted. He tweeted this after you said the deaths of Debbie Reynolds and Carrie Fisher, saying, "Dear God, Trump next, please!" Exclamation point. Trump next, please. Trump next, please. Goes on and on and on and on.
Just imagine. I mean, the nice way to look through a lot of these things is just to flip it and say, imagine if that was tweeted about Barack Obama or Hillary Clinton or anyone else. He would be accused of sexism or racism or any other ism, but in this particular case, it's okay because it's Donald Trump.
I can't imagine he's well. How does anyone in their right mind sit there and think this is okay to tweet.
Right, and he went on that apology tour where he admitted he had HIV and his drug problem and everything else.
There's more behind that tweet, I think.
Sure, but people,
and sympathy was given to him. And sympathy was given to him.
Right, and now you've got to do this. Come on, it's just so ridiculous, absurd.
No, I think it's because the left lives in an alternate universe where it's okay to say these types of things, call Trump supporters Nazis or whatever. Donald Trump has this little caveat that they can say whatever they want about him, but everyone else you can't.
Yeah.
I really think it's like a little hiccup in the brain.
You know, we talk about division in this country. It's coming from tweets like that.
You think Sheen is mad that he started the winning thing and then Donald Trump took it away? Because now he's saying you're going to get tired of winning.
It's like a copyright thing.
You feel like I started the winning thing.
Winning chicken dinner.
Winning. Winning.
You know who's always winning for us?
Always winning.
Heather Nauert, who we always love.
Good morning. I just like his use of the word warlock. I mean, when do you ever hear about warlock?
You're right. It's an underused word.
Yeah, it is.
Yes. Get it into headlines.
Instead of the axis of evil, let's talk about the axis of warlock.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. All right. Good morning, everybody. I got a couple of quick headlines to bring you right now. 3 teens lucky to be alive this morning. After a harrowing ordeal while vacationing near the Florida Keys, the boys forced to climb on top of their rental boat after it started taking on water and capsized. This was about 2 miles off the coast. Their life jackets trapped underneath, but the quick-thinking teens managing to keep their phones above the water. They got a signal and called 911. Crews finding them just before sunset. Wow. And a disturbing new report revealing corruption at the U.S.-Mexico border. Federal agents taking millions of dollars to let drugs and illegal immigrants into the United States. This, according to the New York Times. In one case, an agent approved a citizenship application in exchange for 100 egg rolls. Yeah, that's right, the food. Well, the report shows nearly 200 employees have pocketed nearly $15 million in bribes over the past 10 years. What an explosive report. And the restaurant owner sparking outrage for this anti-Trump sign, now changing his tune, saying it wasn't meant to offend people.
It wouldn't be offensive. I'd just be more like, oh, there's a heads up. Thanks for the info, man. It was a reaction to the election. I wasn't sour grapes because I didn't vote.
Yeah, that's right, man. I didn't vote anyway. Well, you heard that right. The guy didn't vote. The owner plastering this bright yellow handwritten sign on the front door of Cafe 8.5 in Honolulu. It reads, if you voted for Trump, you cannot eat here. No Nazis. Really? Well, soon after posting it, Trump supporters nationwide bit back, but the owner says he doesn't regret it, even though he took down that sign. Nazis, really. So what happens when you try to go one-on-one with a basketball prodigy on the streets of New York City? Watch this. You just fall down in the middle of the street. Well, let's watch that again. This mini basketball player taking street ball to a new level with this epic crosswalk crossover. An oncoming pedestrian tries to play a little defense, but as you can see, she can't seem to stay on her feet. She was a great sport, though. You don't see any of the guys taking that up. Good job, lady. She later posted on Twitter, my ankles were destroyed, which in basketball world means, yeah, I got schooled. Nice. Ed, Henry, you're a big basketball fan. Would you have taken on that kid in the crosswalk?
You know, I would have tried, and he would have beat me as well. I probably would have done as badly. I probably would have fallen on my face. It reminded me of Carmelo Anthony. He doesn't play defense. He scores like 30 or 40 points and never plays defense for the Knicks. That's why they lose a lot. But I got to go back to the restaurant owner. He didn't even vote. He's mad at Donald Trump.
Yeah, but he didn't vote.
Wake up, Jill. Jill Stein is waking up to that right now.
I missed that guy.
That's true.
Man.
Thank you, Heather.
It's called technically broken ankles, is what it's called. What was done to that lady in the crosswalk. Feel bad. All right, now to extreme weather. Thousands bracing for impact.
Yeah, the Northeast preparing for a weather bomb with heavy rain, snow, and gusting winds to close out your year.
Who better to get all over that weather bomb and decipher it, figure it out, than senior meteorologist Janice Dean? She's tracking it all.
The weather bomb.
Janice!
Sort of like the polar vortex. Yes, there's something called bombogenesis, which is what this storm is going to do as it rapidly intensifies off the coast. We call it a nor'easter, but tonight and tomorrow, that's when we're going to see the really gusty winds, and it's going to intensify, and that's why they call it a weather bomb. Okay, look at the temperatures right now. It's cold behind the frontal system that is pushing across the southeast. Ahead of that, we've got warmer than average temperatures. They're lucky ducks across the southeast and Florida. So let's take a look at this storm. It hasn't bombed out yet, once it gets off the coast and some of the energy is transferred from this area of low pressure across the Great Lakes, that's when things are going to get interesting. So taking a look at it, we've got rain right now in D.C., cloudy skies for Philadelphia and New York, but it's on its way as we get into the overnight and tomorrow. The big snow totals after this storm bombs out is going to be across New England, where they could get upwards of 12 to maybe 24 inches of snow, which is great for the ski resorts. And the other good thing is it will be out of here before New Year's Eve. So there's your silver lining.
That is good news.
Janice Dean, you are the bomb.
You are the bomb.com, Janice.
Go
we
on.
Could be more snow
Go
angels.
on.
Yes.
No, that's it. That's all. That's it.
We're still talking about basketball here. Carmelo Anthony never ends on this couch. All right, coming up with just 3 days left until the new year, what money moves should you make before 2017? The best-selling author of Retire-inspired financial expert Chris Hogan joins us next to answer your questions.
He does. He joins us right now, actually.
Oh, right now. There he is.
Right now. There he is, live in the flesh. Good morning. How are you, sir?
Good morning.
Hi, fantastic. Good morning.
Excellent. Well, we've got questions. We're just going to go straight to the questions of folks that have been writing us and letting us know what advice they need from you. Steve writes from my home state of Minnesota. He said, I have money left in my health savings account. Should I take it out before the end of the year or invest it, or should I leave it there?
Well, I would tell Steve, what you want to do is make sure you leave that money there. Okay, you've taken the kind of the pre-tax option of putting the money in there. Leave it there. Let it sit there for the next year in case you have some major medical situation. You'll have extra money sitting there waiting to come to your aid.
Oh, that's really good advice. All right, this is Norm coming in from Kansas. Says, itemize my taxes each year. Do you have any tips for maximizing my deductions?
Norm, what you want to do is really sit down and take a full-on view of your financial situation. Make sure you maximize your charitable contributions, but also don't forget about your charitable donations. Whether you're taking things, clothing or materials you're not using, those donations can help you tax-wise as well. So all in all, sit down with a tax professional, have them really review the deductions that you're taking to see if there's anything that you're missing.
Hey, Chris, Sammy in Oklahoma is talking about something a lot of people are wondering. I need approximately $2,000 in dental work done next year. Should I use my flexible spending account to save for this expense, or my traditional savings account, put it in the bank, put it aside, and get ready for next year?